You play a grown-up Dan Torrance,
Yeah.
heavily influenced by his father. So my first question to you is, what did you take from Danny Lloyd and Jack Nicholson's performances for your role?
I mean, I took a lot more from Jack, really, because I think when you're playing the adult version of a young child like that, there's only so much you can get from their performance. And of course, he was so brilliant, but he's like a blank canvas, wasn't he? And Kubrick was able to use his performance beautifully, but it was very sort of withheld. And so I got much more by watching Jack, and I felt very much that, you know, I know through experience that we can't help but have a lot of our fathers in us as men. So I listened to a lot of Jack on set. I would just have like interviews with him, or just to listen to the cadence of his voice, because I feel like we all sound like our dad. Like if you met my dad now, you would know you'd recognize my voice from his.
That you came from him.
So I wanted to try and do that with this. So I tried to sound a little bit like Jack, or at least have a flavor of him in my voice when I'm playing Danny. And then that's sort of where, and he's my dad. So I just was thinking of Jack Nicholson being my dad, and how cool and strange that would be. And then I left it because I feel like the homages and the clever, the satisfying elements, I hope, for the audience that Mike Flanagan's sort of put into the movie, where we recognize scenes or moments from The Shining in our film, it's best for me not to really be thinking about, because I'm on the inside of it and not. That would be like thinking on the outside.
Right.
So.
Did you talk to Jack Nicholson?
I didn't. I must have met. I know I've seen him somewhere at awards or something when I started off. I know I've been in his company somewhere, but I've never met him or spoken to him, which is a shame.
Well, I thought you did, because you nailed it. But
good.
I'm curious, what is the scariest part of The Shining for you? Because I know you watched it as a teen.
Yes.
So it's so scary.
I didn't really watch it when it came out because I just knew it had the reputation of being the most terrifying film ever made. So I was too sensitive to watch that kind of thing when I was a kid. So I ended up watching it in my 20s probably for the first time. And I watched it alone because I thought, like, well, if you're going to do it, you should do it properly. I watched it at night alone. And I think it's when he meets, now I can never remember if it's Lloyd or Floyd, the barman. Lloyd. It's when he meets Lloyd. Floyd wouldn't be so frightening, would it?
Floyd isn't frightening.
Whoa, scary. Lloyd, when he meets Lloyd in the bar, I think there's just like when suddenly he's there, and Jack has that conversation with him. That's when I started hiding behind the sofa.
Mike, I'm so excited to talk to you about this film. I mean, first off, my thought is, how did you pull this off? You had the unique job of making a sequel to Kubrick's Shining and to King's Shining. So how did you walk that tightrope?
With nothing but kind of intense anxiety, really. And I don't know if we pulled it off. I won't know if we really pulled it off until it's out there in the world. But yeah, I mean, you're kind of zeroing in on what has felt like this intense ulcer that's been eating away at me for the last 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah. I grew up worshiping Stephen King. I saw The Shining when I was very, very young, way too young to see The Shining. I've never had a film that was kind of more formative and influential on me, and I've never had, another author who I've idolized this much. So I don't know kind of how we went about pulling it all together, short of it was 1,000 questions every day that kind of just felt like we were always on a tightrope trying to kind of pull those two sources together.
Well, Congratulations, what an accomplishment. And I'm sure it was easier because you are such a super fan, but now I'm curious, what is the scariest part of The Shining for you?
Of the film?
Yeah.
Or the book?
Film.
The scariest scene in the movie for me, it's the Grady twins. The first time, not the first time you see them, which is in the game room, but the first time he sees them after the hotel is abandoned, when he comes around the corner on the big wheel. That knocked me out when I was a kid. The image of them, their stillness, the symmetry of it was terrifying. I think as I've gotten older, the scariest scene of the film to me is the conversation in the bathroom between Jack Torrance and Delbert Grady.
So terrifying.
Yeah, the insidious kind of casual suggestion of the scene to me is just just chilling.
And you killed it recreating it. So good.
Thanks.
I have to ask, because our fans are huge fans of Haunting of Hill House.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about Bly Manor. What can you tell me about it, and how will it be different from the first series?
Well, it's all based on the writing of Henry James this time, which is really cool.
Right.
And
Turning of the Screw.
The Turn of the Screw.
Yeah.
Yes, which has been adapted actually so many times that it's kind of impossible to find a straight adaptation that hasn't already been done, and done perfectly, I think, in the case of Jack Clayton's The Innocents. So the really cool surprise for everybody with this season, I think, is that we're not limited just to that source. We have access to all of Henry James's ghost stories that haven't been adapted to death. And so it really is kind of turning into a very cool greatest hits album of all of the Henry James ghost stories. And Turn of the Screw is just kind of the most famous of them. There's a bunch of other really wonderful material that's all kind of being braided together for this that I think is really cool.
Well, I can't wait to see what you do with it. I love your aesthetic so much, especially in this movie too. And I feel like color is very important to you. So how do you develop your aesthetic? And what does the color blue mean in this film? Because it's everywhere.
The cool blues have been only increasing kind of in my work over the last few years. I love the way it looks is really the not nearly as intellectual answer as you want, I'm sure, but color is critical. I think Stanley Kubrick understood that, in a way that was so far ahead of his time. For me and for Michael Fimignari, who's been my DP now since Oculus, kind of since from the beginning, we're always trying to find a palette that not only kind of starts to connect that connects kind of all of the work we do together into the same family, but that is also kind of pulling away the warmth from the story visually. And a story like this in particular, when we used colors on the warm side of the spectrum, when we did get into our reds and our oranges, I wanted it to land with a lot of impact, and that meant that when we're out in the world before that, pulling that warmth out, letting everything get kind of cobalt, get really kind of cold.
Yeah.
I thought that could be a really wonderful way to approach it.
Congratulations on the film, Rebecca. I was so excited to see you in it. And when I was reading about the fact that you hate scary stuff, and then thought about the role that you played in this film, I was like, what was the biggest challenge
Cognitive
for you?
therapy. That's what it is, Challenge your fear. It is very different. I was going to say it's very different shooting something and being a part of something than watching it, because I am in utter control of what I'm doing, and I know the outcome. The idea of sitting in a cinema and things jump out it's just not fun.
Right.
I just get really nervous talking about it. I hate it so much.
Well, here's the thing. There's a murder scene in this film that is the most traumatizing.
Yeah.
That another actor plays, and I'm sure that was, what was that like?
Pretty intense, unexpected. I didn't think I would have such a acute reaction to the acting, to the point that I actually needed to shape up because I would have ruined the scene. And then I broke down a little bit after and turned around, and script supervisor was in floods and tears. One of the actors of my clan, and doesn't matter who, had a memory from something that had happened.
Wow.
So that person walked off. It was crazy. And then we all had pizza. That's kind of how it works.
Typical Friday night.
And then we had pizza. But the person who was creating this emotion sat up when it was done and literally went, "Can I just have something to drink? Thanks. I'm great. Thanks." And we were going,
Such an incredible performance. For me, that was the scariest part of the film, but I'm curious to know, what is the scariest part of The Shining, the film, for you?
Oh gosh. Yeah, but there are so many bits and I always want to be smart. I get very affected by the sound effects of things. So obviously when things jump out, but that's a simple answer. For me, I find the cycling, the tricycle, of him going down the corridor, and we know what's to expect, and we don't want him to stop by the bloody door, and yet he does it. But it's the carpet to the wood.
Yes, it's like a heartbeat that goes with the heartbeat soundtrack.
And you know that Mike, actually, as the geek he is, they built a grown-up version of it, and we all got to do it. We literally queued up. We did the whole sight bicycle on the carpet.
I read about that. He made a big wheel. What was that like, riding around?
Incredible. And then the competition was on who did the quickest. Obviously.
You?
Yes, sure. No, I think Mike. With pizza in one hand.
That's so funny. Our fans over at Rotten Tomatoes are huge fans of Dune, and I know you just wrapped on that film. I was hoping you could tell me about your role.
I play the mother, the protector, the Bene Gesserit. It's an incredible role. It's what is wonderful is Denis Villeneuve, he is together with the writers creating something that works today, because the book that was written by Frank Herbert back in the day wasn't as Me Too-ish as we would have hoped. We have learnt better. So I'm kind of a part of a change for this character, an empowerment of her. But yes, there was lots to learn and incredible actors to work with. Action.
Your chemistry with Ewan McGregor is so good in the movie, so I want to know, what was it like working with him, and I want to know about the first time you guys met.
Well, the first time we met was actually in the reading room in audition. I was extremely nervous. I was twitching all over the place. I actually told him when we were shooting like a True Knot scene, I told him that I was twitching all over the place. I don't know if he saw it, but my leg was doing this. That was the first time we met, and I think it was kind of funny. I was acting weird, twitching, but we had a lot of fun reading. I think because we grew a friendship offset, we were able to connect Abra and Dan better. Yeah. And I'm really happy I got to work with him. He's such an amazing person, yeah.
What was he like working with on set when you guys were in character?
Fascinating. I mean, it's so cool just to watch him switch from Mr. Ewan to Dan. Yeah.
What were like the big key differences?
Well, one, the accent. Two, Dan's more dark than Mr. Ewan, and I thought that was kind of cool. That was wacky, but it was cool.
Yeah. I like that this was your first movie, and Ewan's an actor that's been around for a while, and Abra has Uncle Dan as a mentor, so I felt like there was some sort of like similar dynamic there,
yeah, I see Mr. Ewan a lot as my mentore, and I think that's how we relate to Dan and Abra.
Nice. Well, you killed it.
Thank you.
I read that your mom took you to see The Shining.
Yes, my mom and dad.
Aw, so what was that like, and what is the scariest part of The Shining for you?
Well, the spirits. The spirits are horrible. And also the title cards, I found that so funny. I was in the movie theater, the sound is surrounding you, you're getting weird vibes, and then bang, there's Tuesday. That scared me. I don't know why, but it did.
That's so funny. That's interesting, though, a title card. What was the scariest part of filming on set? Because you do some real scary stuff in this film.
It was mostly fun, but I think the scariest ones were with the spirits in the Overlook. With Miss Massey, when she had all her teeth done and her full suit, I really wanted to get sick. It was gross. But as a peace treaty, well, I won't scare you if you don't scare me. We did the Macarena, kind of to smother my extreme fear.
What?
Yeah.
In costume?
Yeah. I walked in during rehearsal and I went, ah! So in between takes, we did the Macarena.
To like not freak you out?
Yes.
Whose idea was that? Was that Mike's idea?
Mine.
Oh, that's really cool. What was it like working with Mike Flanagan?
He's amazing. The world does not deserve Mike Flanagan. He's so talented, and he gave us so much creative freedom. And I'm so grateful for that, because not a lot of directors give you that. And he actually called me and Mr. Ewan in for a meeting about our characters, and we talked about them, and he wanted to know if we wanted to add anything, which was super sweet.
And what did you say? Did you add anything to Abra?
I really just asked him about Abra's character and what he kind of saw for her.
But the things that live there,